What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Hot Mic here, coming to you sizzling already on a Tuesday afternoon here on the West Coast. We're excited to be diving into so many things concerned with Star Wars, Tom Cruise, Kaitlyn Dever, so much we're going to cover here, some anticipated movies of 2024, and more. But I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the Insider himself, Jeff Sneider. How you doing, Jeff? Do you feel vindicated today? How are you feeling?
Vindication, baby! Victory! Give me the V!
That's a little Kevin Dillon action. I respect it. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you'd reported for quite some time ago, Jeff, has come true and has been announced consequently on the same day, which is really interesting to kind of think about and consider. People want to question your scoops. People want to question. You don't always get it right, but as you tweet it, you get it right a lot of the time. And so people want to question it, but you do come through, man. So yeah, so we're going to get into all of it and talk about it here. Remember, the Streamlabs and Superchats are open. Already seeing some Streamlabs that have come through. We'll answer them as we go on throughout the show. Jeff, do you want to start? Should we dive into the Star Wars stuff, or shall we wait a little bit?
Let's run and dive in.
Okay. We're diving into the deep end here. Let's talk about it. Star Wars, this is happening. Favreau, it was announced today, they're in from StarWars.com here. Jon Favreau is directing a new Star Wars movie titled simply The Mandalorian and Grogu, which you can see on your screens right now. It'll apparently go into production later this year, and Lucasfilm did not specify a date for the movie just yet, but there is an untitled Star Wars movie set for December 19th, 2025 here. And this will also go along with everything else that is going on with all these other movies coming to us from Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni's movie as well. But let's deal with this part of the announcement, Jeff. This is something that you had kind of alluded to that was going to happen, and now kind of came, and then has come true here with Jon Favreau, not Dave Filoni, directing this. Are you surprised that this came out as an announcement today, and that they're going into production later this year that quickly, when they had announced 3 other movies at Comic-Con that were supposedly going to be the movies that were going to be coming out sooner or quicker than this one? What are your thoughts on this?
It wasn't terribly surprising. I mean, again, and I want to acknowledge, like, when the rumor first came out, right?
Yeah.
Season 4 of The Mandalorian or whatever is maybe shaping up to be a movie. I checked with my source, and they were like, "Yeah, that's not necessarily the case yet. Like, that hasn't been decided. We don't know." And so that, you know, that was like initially like a denial on my part, and then a couple later it did change. And I was up with you guys about that. I think it was like an early December show where I had finally heard like this was the direction that they were going to go. It didn't surprise me because it feels like we should have heard something on that other Star Wars movie by now, the Rey movie, and I think that just means like it's still under construction. Like, I did kind of think that was going to be next, but then when everyone started calling it the next movie, you start to get some pushback where it's like, well, not necessarily, because we've decided to just kind of do the safe thing as far as reintroducing Star Wars to the big screen, and let's just give people sort of comfort food and the continuation of a story that they're already invested in, essentially.
There are now 4 movies in the pipeline here. People were saying, what are they going to do? What are they going to do for a few years now? And bang, after Rise of Skywalker, and bang, here we have 4 movies. One from Favreau, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, Mangold, and Filoni. So you've got 4 movies coming down the pike here from Star Wars. I imagine we're heading towards Dave Filoni's Infinity War and Endgame against whoever the massive baddie is with all of this. But this is an interesting decision. One of the guys who does Star Wars tweeted this out, that the best part of the news is that it shows with upcoming Star Wars theatrical projects, there's quite literally something for everyone. fans of the Mandalorian, here's a film about Din and Grogu. If you like the sequels, here's a Rey film about the new Jedi Order, Rebels, and prequel stuff. Here's a new Republic era event film. And if you like the Force and the Jedi Order, there's Dawn of the Jedi from Mangold. That was at J. Tim Sugg. So that actually kind of is an interesting decision by Star Wars. They're trying to cover all the bases of the fandoms that they've created here to address them without necessarily creating an overt trilogy. So what are your thoughts on the way they've kind of rolled out these announcements? And do you think that assessment is correct?
How do I feel about Lucasfilm, the way that it's rolled out the announcements of like its big screen stuff?
Yeah, these 4 films. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you want to give up the bag about like this Mandalorian project as early as they announce those other things, right?
Right.
You know, so I think it was probably smart to just be patient and see how that unfolded. Like, is this a season of television or is this a story that just lends itself to a 2 or 3 hour movie? You know, let the story needs to dictate the format. I think that's what it ultimately boils down to. And then I'm sorry, what was the other part of it?
Yeah. Do you think that they were smart to? Do you think they purposely created these tastes of Star Wars, like sections of Star Wars fandom, in the hope that they would be able to get all this stuff in motion, it would be successful, and cater to all the different types of fandom here in their approach with these movies that address different sections of Star Wars history?
I have to say I'm probably not the right guy to ask that because I'm just not familiar with all these different sections of Star Wars fandom. I mean, they all get lumped under the same group to me.
Fair enough. Well, this basically means there's no
group being nerds.
Yes, fair. There's no the Mandalorian season 4, right, Jeff? It seems like this is going to take the place of season 4 of the Mandalorian, wouldn't you assume?
Right. I don't think if there are more Mandalorian stories to tell after this movie, like that they would then refer to that. You know, if you went back to the small screen, I don't know if you'd call that season 4. You know what I mean?
Well, you mean the movie itself? You wouldn't call it season 4, is what you're saying?
Well, I don't think it is. I mean, it's serving as that, but I'm just saying if there was another season beyond this movie.
Oh, I see.
Like, do fans call that season 4, or do they just refer to it as season 5 and Mandalorian movie becomes season 4, like, you know, to fans?
I'm of the belief that this is the end of the Mandalorian seasons. Like, this is they're going to do the movie. It's Mandalorian. I mean,
that's 3 seasons in a movie. Like, that's what you want, right?
That's great. 3 seasons. 6 seasons in a movie, but yes, 3 seasons in a movie. You get in and you get out, and you're leading, of course, with all these other movies coming, leading towards this final confrontation. And we'll get to Ahsoka season 2 being announced as being in development. But this situation here, I think, is interesting to look at with how they're approaching this and the timing of this, Jeff. And I want to get your thoughts on this because, of course, last week, you know, I had a rant about Charmin Obaid-Chinoy that, you know, some of these people picked up and got upset about. But, like, do you think, because Star Wars does this, Disney does this, do you think that the backlash to Charmin Obaid-Chinoy's comments, which I think were overblown, this backlash, do you think the backlash like forced Disney to announce this quicker than maybe they would have, since it's not going into production until much later this year? Or do you think they just wanted to get people excited here in January right off the bat?
I mean, it's a popular theory, the old, you know, pivot where it's like, oh, we don't like something gets in the news. Let's release something good that the fans will, you know, get excited about or whatever.
Right.
You know, I guess that's maybe basic PR strategy, but it's hard to say whether they felt their hand was forced or if it was just a coincidence. And like, they were going to have to announce this movie at some point, like, especially if it's going into production later this year.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't deny people were upset with their comments, and people took, you know, obviously old comments and tried to juxtapose it into current day and create all this stuff, and that maybe might have unsettled some of the people at Star Wars who are feeling like, you know, we've got to have some wins here. Maybe making this announcement gets everybody back on, although some people were still complaining about it, of course, because people are always going to complain no matter what. But it seems to get this excitement. You can feel this buzz through social media and a number of Star Wars fans that now we're getting a Mandalorian and Grogu film. Mama, question comes to you, Jeff. Do you think this is going to be successful? And I'm asking, all right, before people flip out in the chat, I'm asking because you're taking TV characters and you're jumping them into a theatrical feature, will this be something that becomes a massive hit? Do you think there's the potential for this thing to be $1 billion movie possibly because of the Grogu kind of crossover potential that has already been shown with that character?
I actually don't think so. I don't know if this is the way to go. This feels like a little back.
Explain that. Yeah, what do you mean backtrack?
I'm saying, like, if I haven't seen The Mandalorian,
right,
the 3 seasons, why am I seeing this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't I like, what's going on? Who are these people? What's happening? Who's Grogu?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like when you're counting on fans to watch the TV show and read the book and watch the movie, and it's all canon, and you have to pay attention to all of it. I don't know. I just don't think that works, particularly when you haven't trained the audience for that. We didn't know that there was going to be a leap from TV to film. And again, these are people that, yes, they're paying for Disney Plus, right? We subscribe to Disney Plus, or our relatives do. But it's like they feel like they're getting something for free, right? And now all of a sudden they're going to be able to pay for it. And as someone who just launched a paid newsletter, I see how many subscribers, convert, and it's not nearly enough. Now maybe Star Wars is different than the Insider brand, maybe just a little bit, but I don't know that it will be $1 billion movie. Maybe they're looking for something more in the 400 to 600 million range if they can keep the costs low. Yeah,
sometimes maybe it's about if they keep the cost low, they're still getting a W. If, like, say, they make the movie for $80 to $100 million, and like they make 600 or 500 off it, you're still looking at a W, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that should be the model, John. That's the thing. Remember, who are we talking about at the end of the day? What is the company we're talking
about? Disney.
Disney, yes, is the answer.
Right.
And what have we been talking about for months on the show? That Disney is going to be cutting back, on budgets. Instead of making $300 million Avengers movies, the goal is to make $175 million Avengers movies. They don't want to pay Emma Stone for Fantastic Four. Okay, this is a pattern. It's a clear, we need to pull back and not go overboard, because the days of, post-pandemic, the days of getting $2 billion, $3 billion, it's harder than ever. I mean, Barbie, Top Gun, these are huge, gigantic movies. Where did they top out at? 1.5 billion, basically. Right. So if that's the ceiling now, I think that companies just have to be, a little bit more frugal with budgets, and that's what you're going to see.
Yeah, because to be fair with Kaitlyn Kennedy, I know people have their issues with Kaitlyn Kennedy, but she's the films have made overall $6 billion plus. And I don't mean profit. I mean, they've made $6 billion. I think the profit is around the $2 billion range. The merchandise has been a massive seller for Disney and for Star Wars. The parks, I don't know what the park situation is like, as I'm not as schooled on that. But you can say that she's been successful monetarily, but certainly maybe not for some of the fandom creatively or with some of these movies and the reaction. So is this the way to go? As you were saying, smaller. Do we anticipate that the Filoni movie is going to be small, that the Mangold movie budget is going to be small, that the Charmin Obey-Chinoy movie is going to be small? Because, Daisy Ridley didn't go off and become a massive star, and you're having to back up the dump truck to bring her back into the.
You don't have to pay people like Harrison Ford or Carrie Fisher or Mark Hamill to come back, right? Things are a little bit cheaper. Of course, COVID costs bump things up 10% because you still have to do all that kind of stuff, unfortunately. I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I don't want to call these movies small, because I don't think that they are small.
Right. I'm not saying they're independent features.
Like Mandalorian. What do you think Mandalorian costs per episode? Take a guess.
I don't know, 100-something million. What do you think?
An episode?
I don't know. I never know with these things. Oh, sorry.
Say $20 to $25 million an episode.
Okay.
Right. For the Mandalorian. And so it's like, even if you double that, right?
Yeah.
And you make a 2.5 hour movie, you're looking at 125 million, 100, even in the chat said maybe 150 million tops. That's as high as you go with the budget. 150 million, and then you have to basically gross 300, or so approximately to break even.
Right.
And a Star Wars movie should be able to do that no matter what in theaters, especially if it's good. And people like The Mandalorian. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. MovieWeb has it Mandalorian $15 million $15 million per episode, with a total of 16, with 8 more on the way when they were doing this reporting. Andor was 15 to 25. Obi-Wan was $90 million overall total. Book of Boba Fett was $15 million per episode. So that's not cheap, because I remember when Rome was canceled because on HBO because it was like $3 or $6 million an episode, and it was way too much. Now you're seeing this kind of a budget for these kinds of stories, and what Disney, Disney is spending a lot of money, so maybe slowing down a little bit on that in their approach. And I don't have Ahsoka numbers in front of me, so yeah. I mean, I like this idea. I like that it's all over the place and different fandoms can get satisfied here with all these different movies that are coming. I know a lot of people think the Rey movie is never going to happen, or some people have said they don't even want to see the Rey movie, but we're going to see when the script comes out. We're going to see what the story is. We're going to see what they're creating and where and the direction that they're going. And then we'll see what the Mangold movie is. And then we'll see what the Filoni movie, which I imagine is going to be their kind of end game approach. Do you think all 4 of these movies happen? I imagine the Favreau is probably the most sure bet. Do you think the other 3 movies happen depending on the result? What's your feeling?
I mean, who's to say? There's so many factors involved in that, including what other offers come these people's way, and whether Lucasfilm wants to wait, and talent and scheduling and strikes and pandemics. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, the Taika Waititi thing is still a project, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, yes. But I personally don't think we're ever seeing that movie.
Yeah, I think that's maybe taking a back seat for now, but I don't know that it's gone away entirely. I don't know what are people getting banned left and right for? I'm missing all the bans.
Well, they're all complaining about last week when I happened to use passion and emotion to speak about Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. So they're all like going, "When's the meltdown going to happen?" So I just kind of
I'll give them a meltdown if they want. I mean, it doesn't always have to be you every week. That's
what I told these people. It's hot mic is always, there's always going to be some passion, but of course, exactly.
And
I'm just going to keep banning them because I don't care to see them. So go ahead, keep going.
We can continue. I mean,
okay, let's move on to Ahsoka. That was kind of buried in the announcement, Jeff. Were you surprised by it? It was like near the end of the announcement in the small paragraph that Ahsoka Season 2 is in development. So what are your thoughts on the fact that it wasn't as trumpeted as the Mandalorian and Grogu movie?
Bro. This is the hot mic, okay? You're not on your Star Wars show.
What do you want me to say? I'm just telling you. What do you think about it? I'm asking your thoughts.
I have no thoughts. I've never seen Ahsoka. I've never seen 2 minutes of Ahsoka. I don't know what
she's going to be connected to the Filoni and possibly Favreau movie, which is why I'm asking about it.
Can 1, 2, 3 connect 4? I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
All right, fair enough. Well, then I'll say that I think it was interesting to see that kind of buried near the bottom, which makes me think they really wanted this Mandalorian Grogu win to own the social media cycle on this. And the Ahsoka thing was for people who are excited about a season 2 of Ahsoka. But certainly there were some people who felt that that series didn't 100% hit the mark. So maybe that was the approach they went, that they made a more subtle announcement that it's being worked on. And we'll see what the end result's going to be of that when it comes down the road. Because it will lead up or connect up to, I imagine, to the Filoni and Favreau film coming up here real soon. All right, so let's see. What else do you want to discuss on this? Is there anything more you want to say? Have you heard anything more? Can you drop any other scoops about this? Have you heard who might be in, what the story might be? What's in motion here? Anything else? Any Star Wars related stuff that you want to bring up?
I will go back to my Star Wars sources and shake the tree and see if there's anything there now that this project is out there in the public. But no, I don't really think I have anything else on that front.
Okay. Am I still in contention for a steak dinner?
For what? Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Okay, all right.
By the way, it is okay. The bet is for the Charmin movie, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so not if there's a sequel to that Ray movie, that's not the movie.
No.
That's
If there's a sequel to Charmin Obaid Chinoy's movie, and that's where John Boyega shows up, then I don't win the bet. But I
Okay.
think he's going to show up in that movie. Now he has to show up, Jeff. Could be 6 seconds. Could be an end credit scene. It still counts. It still counts as the movie.
Yeah, of course, you got it. No problem. I want to buy you a steak anyways, buddy. Let's talk about these release date changes that just came in. Just because
bring it up, please. What do you got?
The Kong movie got moved up to March 29th, which we
Wow.
were all just waiting for Warner Brothers to announce the delay for Mickey 17. Like
Yeah.
it was like, what are we doing here? Like, okay, move. They didn't move it. They just took it off the calendar entirely. Mickey 17. This is Bong Joon-ho's follow-up
Right.
to Parasite, stars Robert Pattinson. Why did they do that? This movie's going to be a can. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Obviously. I mean, most likely this movie will be invited to Cannes.
So they want it to debut there. They want the prestige of it
It'll debut at Cannes, and then it'll, probably hit theaters. I think it's going to be the fall. I think it feels like a late September movie, early October kind of thing. I have to look at Warner Brothers calendar and everything, but I mean, they could always put it out late May.
Okay.
Like right after Cannes. So and that's really what should be done. I think you want to capitalize. I mean, then it's like, how much does Cannes really fucking matter in the scheme of things at the box office? But it's like you want to capitalize on all the coverage from that festival, and then boom, drop it in theaters right after that. You don't want to let that sort of die down 5 months later. But who knows? I've heard it's very good.
You've heard it's good. Okay, well, let me read you the Warner Brothers release schedule at this point. You've got the Horizon Chapter 2 coming out on August 16th. Then there's nothing until September 6th, which is Beetlejuice 2. Then there's another month where we get separation to October 4th, where we get Joker, Folie à Deux. Then on November 15th, we get Alto Nights and Red One. And then on December 13th, there's Lord of the Rings. So there's a spot for Mickey 17 within those month-long breaks between the other bigger movies that are being released there, where you could slide Mickey 17 in, I suppose, depending on what else is coming out from other studios on those weekends.
Tricky because Joker is just a fucking whirlpool.
Yeah, that's a monster. Yeah,
it is just, and you don't want to be on either side of that whirlpool. So, like, because if you come out the week before, all right, you drop 90% second weekend because everybody's seeing Joker. If you come out, Joker's going to have a few weeks. So, I mean, Warner Brothers obviously just pulled it off. Well, I guess they kind of went 1 for 3, I would say. So they had Wonka, Aquaman, and Color Purple all in theaters, right? In December.
Right.
Color Purple didn't do very well, and Aquaman obviously hasn't done great either. Wonka was a big hit, though.
Right.
So I think it's just tough to release too many movies on top of each other. Especially if they're kind of competing. But I'm sure that Warner Brothers will find the right spot for Mickey 17. It's just a question of, is this more of like an awards contender or more of like a real commercial, like this should be a huge blockbuster?
Yeah, what do you know about Alto Nights? Christian and I were talking about this on the big thing last week when we were going through the studios and talking about the films that are coming out. Alto Nights is this Barry Levinson film that's supposedly written by Nicholas Pileggi, and it stars De Niro as Vito Genovese and Frank Costello. So, is this happening? Is this coming? Have you heard anything about this movie? It's kind of crazy. It's no buzz to talk to me about.
It's like the first movie that Zaslav greenlit, basically.
Oh, really?
Once the studio was under his control, which is like, completely not with the strategy. Like, let's give like these 70-year-old guys, Levinson and De Niro, way too much money to go make a movie in like a genre that is not performing well in theaters.
It's a weird decision, bro. It's a weird decision.
But again, depending on the budget, maybe it becomes a hit. I mean, Robert De Niro has had a good, he's had some hit some hits in some commercial films, but
right. I just think it's an odd choice because it's like, in pro wrestling, in what's happening now is Saudi Arabia does an event every year and they bring in like Goldberg or The Undertaker or old wrestlers and they pay them millions of dollars to come in and wrestle one match. And it's almost like they're like going back in time to relive their youth by bringing in their favorite toys to play on their stage. And this seems a little bit like Zaslav going like, I've always wanted to work with Robert De Niro in a movie, so let's greenlight this.
Crime movie. In a
crime movie, right, with Barry Levinson, who's got great credibility.
That's the thing. He's like, this is De Niro's wheelhouse. Like, this is, if you're going to pay De Niro, this is what you pay him for. I think it is kind of that line of thinking.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I don't know if Alto Knights and Red One are going to make that much of a splash where you could actually slide in Mickey 17. Maybe there's your November release, but I don't know. We'll see as it goes forward. So for sure. What are the other release dates that are moved around, brother?
It was really just like the Godzilla vs. Kong one and Mickey 17. Those were.
Does that show you faith in the Kong one that they've moved it up? Or is it more a matter of filling a hole in the schedule?
Yeah, I think it's just that there's nothing else coming out that weekend except for maybe like Turning Red, possibly the release.
Right.
So yeah, it was a hole.
That's not going to cause much of a impact necessarily in the box office, so to speak. So yeah. Okay. You want to get into one more story before we hit a break here and answer some of these Streamlabs and Super Chats? What do you want to do?
Should we talk about the king, the prince, the president?
Go ahead. Yes, please.
Tom Cruise.
Tommy Cruise.
Bring it up. He's going to be the lead subject of my newsletter tonight, so I'll try to limit.
Yes.
I don't want to give it all away, but I think he sees the writing on the wall.
Well, let's tell them what. Do you want me to do it? Do you want me to tee it up and then
tee it up?
All right. All right. Tom Cruise has signed well, I'll bring the picture up so people can enjoy my man's smiling face. I love Tom Cruise, but he's signed a new deal to develop and produce theatrical films with Warner Brothers Discovery. These movies supposedly will be a mix of original productions and franchise fare that will star Tom Cruise. The company said in a release touting the deal as part of what is being billed as a, quote, new strategic partnership. Cruise and his production company will have offices on the Warner Brothers Discovery lot in Burbank. This is a coup, apparently, for Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi to move him in there and have him working on. Of course, he's worked for Warner Brothers and done films like Edge of Tomorrow, Magnolia, Rock of Ages, Interview with the Vampire, Eyes Wide Shut. So this is an interesting decision by Mr. Thomas Cruise, shall I say, out of respect for my elders. Your thoughts on this, real quick thoughts, because I know you want to say more in your newsletter. What's your feeling on all this, and what do you mean by he's read the writing on the wall?
I think it's. I mean, is the Warner Brothers Paramount stuff real? I mean, it really feels like he sees Paramount as going under, as Sherry losing control, right? This is all ultimately about control. That's all that any of these people really want. They all have all the money that they could ever have. Sherry's losing control, and he wants to, know who his boss is basically going to be. Right. Boss, I use in very, very loose terms, right? I think he's sort of getting ahead of it, and and that's why it's not just a partnership, John. It's a strategic partnership.
Yeah,
you got to love these things. It's not exclusive. Like, he's still making movies for other studios, right. He's still going to make movies for Paramount as long as Paramount exists, right? He's still doing Mission Impossible 8 and potentially another Top Gun movie. Who knows? Yeah. Potentially, I don't know how real that is, but I think the thing about Warner Brothers is, like, he just wants to be left alone. He wants freedom, right? That's what, again, he just doesn't want anybody to tell him what to do. He wants to go off and make the movies that him and McQuarrie want to make, and as long as it takes to make them, and whatever it costs, like, don't worry, we're gonna push the boundaries of cinema. So he goes back a long ways with DeLuca. He doesn't, he doesn't really know Zaslav, but like him and DeLuca, there's a trust there, there's a history and a relationship, and I think that they have a similar passion for cinema, and I think he's going to be focusing on more originals than making franchise movies. I mean, an IP, like, that's just shit that you have to say to get, like, investors excited and get Wall Street excited. Yeah, we got Tom Cruise, like, let's invest. Like, he's going to make blockbusters, but, like,
Yeah.
I think we're actually going to see a return to the kind of Tom Cruise that we all fell in love with, which is, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Good. Like, I'm talking about A Few Good Men. I'm talking about Jerry Maguire. Like, I think we're going to see him fucking act again. Not that he didn't act
great
in Top Gun, because I thought he was amazing, but like, I think we're going to see like Oscar nomination Tom Cruise again.
Well, it's interesting to read the tea leaves in this situation, right? Because you look at Top Gun Maverick, that made over $1 billion while we're still in the COVID mentality. And certainly there's a second wave that's apparently happening according to statistics, but like we're in that kind of mentality, right? And he did a lot of really vulnerable, interesting, attractive, charming acting in that movie, human acting in that movie. That was great. And it overperformed. No one could have expected it to do what it did. And then comes out Mission Impossible 7 and it underperforms. So is this Tom maybe reading? I mean, we saw The Rock recently talk about this with Benny Safdie. They're saying like, I want to go and work with him because I want to kind of remember and go back to a little bit of I'm not walking away from this, but I just want to try this out. Is what you're saying maybe essentially what Tom was looking at, going, well, maybe people want to see more of this from me and a little bit less of this. And so that could be interesting. I was actually watching A Few Good Men over the weekend for the first time in a while, and I was like, fuck, man, I like this Tom Cruise. Where did this Tom Cruise go? And so
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Legend 2. No. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Would you do a sequel
to
A Few Good Men?
Oh, well, it was based on a play. So is there a sequel to that play?
You just have you hire Sorkin to write an original.
Sure.
An original screenplay about that character.
Yeah. With McQuarrie.
Right. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know that McQuarrie would necessarily want to do that, but
sure.
I just don't think he's going to do Edge of Tomorrow 2. Like, that was like the lazy, like, oh yeah, Edge of Tomorrow 2, finally we're going to get it. You're not going to get it. It's not happening.
Tomorrow 2 did not do well.
You know why you're not going to get it?
Tell it.
You know why? Why do you think you're not going to get it?
Because it didn't do well the first time around, box office wise.
I don't care how it did.
Okay, tell me.
Get it because you haven't gotten it. Okay, if Tom Cruise wanted to do Edge of Tomorrow 2, you already would have seen it.
It's true.
It's not like he had to have a deal at Warner Brothers to do it. So that is not going to be a priority.
How about A Few More Good Men? Yes.
That's what I thought.
For A Few Good Men more.
For a few.
These are good titles, ladies and gentlemen. These are good titles. All right. Well, let's take a break. And of course, as Jeff said in his newsletter, which you can subscribe at where, Jeff?
TheInsnyder.com.
Go and subscribe there, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure Jeff will figure out those issues with it. But go and subscribe, for God's sakes, for now. And you're getting good stuff. I want to see the Snyder cut of the newsletter that you tweeted about that you were going to release last night and then buried. I want the Snyder cut of that newsletter. And I need to know if there's a tier that you can reach where you would issue that newsletter to people at the highest tier. I want to know if that tier is possible.
I will tell you what it was when we're on there.
I can probably guess.
Thanked my friend this morning. I was like, that was the right call. It was, I wrote like, dude, I did not have an evening last night. I didn't like have dinner. I didn't get to watch a movie. Like, I had to start over at 8 and basically work till 12:30.
I will say this. I'm not trying to kiss your ass because you frustrate the fuck out of me a lot of the times. Your ability to write is something that I envy very deeply about you, because
nobody reads anymore though. Thank you.
I read your stuff. I've watched you work from scratch, and I've marveled at how you're able to because I will agonize over one fucking piece for hours, and you will just do. It's amazing. I always envy people.
I the one last night, and I just spent hours doing it, and then it gets to be like 8:39, and you're like, I haven't sent it yet. Like, I have to send it. And then you just ask a friend, and you're like, I'm about to send this. And you're like, wait, don't send that.
Well, I'm glad they were there to tell you that. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and we're going to jump into some of your Streamlabs and Superchats and get into some more news here going on in the world of entertainment right after this. All right, Jeff, let's get into some of these Streamlabs that have come through here. Mr. Penguin says, this may sound crazy, but could you guys see Tom Cruise as Batman? I can. And this is why he can kind of did the Defiant Stepson storyline in Top Gun 2. Plus, he would make great action scenes, and DC needs a big actor. Yeah, would DC be the move for him? I don't know, brother. I don't know. He's too small. I mean, Batman is like a towering figure. I don't know that Tom, and I love Tom Cruise, but I don't know that Tom necessarily is the way you want to go with him in a DC universe. I don't know that Tom is necessarily feeling that. What do you think?
I think I'll answer that question in the newsletter tonight.
Okay, fair point.
I don't get that vibe.
Okay,
in summation, I don't get that vibe.
Fair point. Luke Nelson says, do you think this announcement takes Pedro off the table for Fantastic Four? General audiences already seem to be sick of Marvel and Star Wars content. Would hate to see the market oversaturated with Pascal too. I reject the premise of the question. I don't think people are sick of Marvel and Star Wars content. I think some people are sick of the lower quality of this Marvel and Star Wars content that they've been getting. I think there's a nuance, there's room for nuance here, right? And I think that's where it seems to be. People hated Secret Invasion. Clearly, people didn't like the Marvels, didn't go see it, no matter how much the Marvels truthers want to tell you it was an incredible film. People didn't go see it and weren't interested in it. But it doesn't mean there isn't room. And I don't know how you oversaturate Pedro Pascal when he's going to be basically behind a helmet doing a voiceover performance for a majority of the movie, I would imagine. What do you think about this, Jeff? Is he out of Fantastic Four?
No, that's not what I've heard. Although I am at the tip of my hand looking into certain things. Because obviously, he showed up at the Globes in the sling, and that called into question things like, is he going to be ready in time for filming and this and that? He's supposed to be doing Last of Us in February. I think I told you, like, what do we say, March or April for Fantastic Four? I forget, but I think
April, I think. Yeah.
So, it seems like a short time on the set of The Last of Us, but like I said, he may take a back seat on that show and sort of be the third lead this season, with Kaitlyn Dever coming in as Abby, which we can talk about later in the show. But I don't think he's out. No, I don't think he's out of Fantastic Four. I don't think he's out of Last of Us. So it's like, but is there an odd project out? We'll see.
Yeah, and I imagine he wouldn't have said yes to this if it was going to mess with Fantastic Four. I mean, you take the Fantastic Four gig. That's the gig you take. Haunted_Autumn says, at first blush, I'd say I prefer the long-form storytelling of a series. However, a Mando film would, in my opinion, bring with it the magic of a classic shared cinematic Star Wars experience. This could be great. Yeah, some people have been I've seen some people be a little bit upset or sad that they're not going to get a season of The Mandalorian. Our friend Adam Hlavak over at Heroes Reforged, he tweeted it out that he was sad he was not going to get a long form season. It's just going to be a movie instead. So do you think that that's something that maybe might turn out to be a mistake here? Did you like the process of that? I don't know why I ask you things.
I just got a text. Just got an interesting text. Again, Star Wars. I don't.
Yeah, fair point.
I don't feel like the shared cinematic Star. I'm like, the shared cinematic universe we've all waited for. I don't care.
Okay, fair point. Mike Joyce is
the Star Wars reporter. That's what people don't understand. They're so close to, and they're so close to it, John. Right? I can objectively stand back and at least have a normal conversation and just treat it like a movie. Like with this character does this and this is the plot, and not get wrapped up in the how could yous.
But you've got to have a love for it as well to be able to talk about it.
I have a love for
just having an overall perspective
and the people, but I'm not invested in the world. I feel like, I don't know.
Do you want someone in charge of the Boston Celtics who doesn't give a shit about the the mythology of the Boston Celtics and the history of the Boston Celtics? Do you want them just to stand back and be like,
sometimes it takes an outsider. So again, it's just, and I think it's a big problem with a lot of these properties is that like the geeks sort of take over, right? They get these. I've been reading every comic book, and I know exactly all the Easter eggs that need to go into this project and this project. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna have this, this, and this. It's everything all these nerds wanted to see. And guess what? The nerds are coming anyways. Okay, they're already going to buy their ticket. They're like 10,000 people or 100,000 people. Not enough. Not like the rest of us who didn't maybe grow up reading comic books. And those are the people you need to get in the theater. And sometimes it takes an executive with fresh eyes who didn't read, just wants to tell a good story featuring these characters and doesn't get wrapped up in all the minutia that fans get sidetracked on.
Yeah, certainly. Mike McKenzie has a movie pitch for us. How's this for a movie pitch? The Halifax Explosion, directed by Denis Villeneuve, have Ryan Gosling as Vince Coleman. Roger Deakins shoots it. I don't know what the Halifax Explosion is, Jeff. Do we want to table this to later on when we talk about movie pitches?
Yeah, well, I mean, I handle the movie pitches. Guys, if you want your movie pitch on here, and again, this is going to become a paid segment eventually.
Yeah.
Once John and I sit down and hammer out a fucking Patreon.
Hello.
But yeah, I've got 2 pitches that I'm prepared to present to the class today.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay, fair enough. JC says, to me, Star Wars and Marvel have been diluting their brand doing TV shows, but they seem like they have to also keep Disney Plus subscribers. What do you think the balance is? I would do one show a year only animated, but is that little bit okay? What do you think, Jeff? Do you think this is a way of them reclaiming the feature film by turning this into a movie?
Sorry, that's the trick where it's like, okay, we're going to cut back, right? We're not going to make 4 movies and 4 shows and do all this, right? Okay. But then where are your hits coming from? Right? What are the big things that you're going to stock the pipeline with for your streaming service?
Yeah.
If now Disney Plus just lost, a new season of The Mandalorian because now that's going to the big screen.
Yeah.
What fills that void on the streaming service to make subscribers feel like they're getting their money? That's going to be the trick. I think that Disney will have to come up with those properties. They can't just rely on Marvel and Star Wars. That's not like, what show? I think that you probably know the answer to this. What show got my subscription money for Disney Plus?
Oh, I think it was probably The Mandalorian when I first signed up. For you. I'm sorry. What was your?
My money.
Oh, the Disney. I don't know. What is it? What was it?
The Mighty Ducks.
Oh, Jesus. How would I know that? All right.
Okay.
Mighty Ducks.
I don't because I was pretty vocal about my love for Mighty Ducks. But anyways, the point is they need to take some of these older properties that, like whether it's sports movies, whatever the Buena Vista stuff, the Touchstone stuff, start doing. It doesn't all have to go to Hulu, right? Like you can, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like, where is that?
Well, I mean,
it's not a theatrical movie, right? Yeah. Then I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was saying they just did Percy Jackson and the Olympians to try to revitalize that as a separate franchise. National Treasure. They've been trying these things.
Right. Those weren't really my things, right?
Yeah.
I didn't grow up on fucking Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I get it though, that maybe someone a few years younger than me might really appreciate that.
Right.
But Mighty Ducks was my shit, and that's the kind of stuff that I would watch Disney Plus for.
Right. By the way, just as a side thing, since you're into the Mighty Ducks, have you seen the ESPN documentary about how they became the Anaheim Mighty Ducks? It just came out like a few months ago. It's a 60-minute documentary. If you have ESPN Plus, you can watch it. It's a 60-minute doc. It's a really good doc.
I would totally watch that. Absolutely. And I'm also planning to watch that Patriots Dynasty show. Did you see that trailer?
I mean, if you're up for reviewing that with me, dude, I would love to review that with you. Maybe even with JT. The 3 of us talking about that would be a lot of fun, I think. So, yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. Ghostface says, hello, Jeff. Seeing as you seem to be a fan of the Scream movies, have you or John seen the new Scream trivia game? Retailers are not able to keep it in stock. Holy shit, Jeff. Do you know about this?
No, never heard of it. Sounds awesome. Would love to play it with somebody.
Okay.
Maybe April will buy it. April has all the games.
There you go. Mike Joyce says, do you think Tom Cruise's new partnership with Warner Brothers will lead to him making more dramas again? I missed the 80s, 90s Tom Cruise. Mike, I think we covered that. I think Jeff had a sense of that as well. And so, I think both of us probably say yes, right, Jeff?
I'm sorry. What? I need
Mike
the
Joyce
fun.
was saying, he said, do you think Tom Cruise's new partnership with Warner Brothers will lead him to making more dramas again, kind of like in the 80s and the 90s? I think we answered that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Robin also said, book my ticket to LA. If Feige doesn't want to announce the Fantastic Four cast, then I'll do it myself. And if it's the last thing I do. All right, Robin. Big Daddy says, since we're talking Star Wars, what order do you guys think is the best way for a first-time viewer to watch the films? I started with the prequels and regretted it. Yeah, never, ever. I don't care. Listen, I don't care. This is my opinion, right? So this is my opinion. I think you never, ever start with the prequels. Always start with the original trilogy. That's the magic sweet spot. Then you can go to the prequels, then to the sequels, and enjoy it and watch the TV shows in between. But the original trilogy is where you always go. You always start there. I think that's just the smarter move. Yeah, maybe some people will be like, oh, it's dated, the special effects, blah, blah, blah. But the original trilogy has that magic. And if you make it through all those movies, then put on the holiday special and see if you can make it through that. Jeff, any thoughts on that? Or shall we move on from that question?
Yeah, move on. I don't even know.
Okay, all right. Sloth said, can Sneider rank the major film festivals throughout the calendar? Which are his personal favorite festivals to attend? Francis Ford Coppola mentioned Megalopolis, getting an early 2024 released as a premiere at Cannes, passed the smell test. Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think Megalopolis will be at Cannes next year? Or this year, rather?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you were tweeting about the festivals just quickly because they only donated $1. What quickly, like what's
I only really go to 2 festivals a year. Like I'm not Mr. Festival. Like I don't go to Fantastic Fest and Fantasia and South by and Cannes and Venice and Telluride. I am a strict I am a strict Sundance and Toronto guy. Sundance is my favorite just because I love. There's just something about getting out of a midnight movie at 2 a.m. in Utah, and you look up and you see every star in that fucking sky.
That's true. That's true.
And walking, trudging home in the snow. But Toronto is always great to me, and I love going up to that city. We do have some breaking news that was just confirmed.
You want to do it?
It is Jeff Sneider confirmation day, folks, because Variety has just confirmed that one Carrie Coon,
there it is,
has back joined the White Lotus.
There it is, Carrie. This is something we announced last week. That Jeff announced last week, broken on the show last week, and there it is. Carrie Coon is going to be in White Lotus season 3, along with the rest of the cast that was announced, Jeff, last week as well. So, good job by you.
Wow.
There you go. All right. Well, let's move on to Kaitlyn Dever situation here. We'll come back to some of your Streamlabs Superchats. Keep sending them in as we go along. And please remember, we got almost 600 of you watching us live. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Really, leave a comment down below. And if you're watching later and you want to send some support to the show financially, hit that super thanks button or that thanks button and send in some stuff. Shout out to Sharon, who always sends stuff to us. Sharon, you're the best on all my shows. I appreciate you madly. So let's move on. Kaitlyn Dever. Let's have this conversation. Another one of Jeff's things that he broke here. Kaitlyn Dever has officially joined the season of HBO's Last of Us to play the character of Abby. Abby is described as you see on the screen there, a skilled soldier whose black and white view of the world is challenged as she seeks vengeance for those she loved. Kaitlyn Dever was originally in consideration to play the role of Ellie that eventually went to Bella Ramsey, because they wanted to go with a younger actress, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, and so that's why they chose Bella Ramsey. But clearly, Kaitlyn Dever, a fantastic actress who's been making an incredible name for herself recently. No One Will Save You on Hulu. So now she will be a part of this. And some people have expressed strong opinions of dissent on this one, Jeff, because they have a very strong feeling that Abby should be this muscular, strong tank of a woman. A lot of people thinking, was it Katie O'Brien is who they were looking at as possibly taking the role. But this is fucking great casting. Kaitlyn is such a good actress. She's got a big name in the industry.
He doesn't look like the video game character. What? Are you fucking kidding me, guys? This is Kaitlyn Dever. Okay.
Don't be accused of getting a meltdown. Calm down, Jeff.
This is the Meryl Streep of her generation. Okay. We've all caught a case Dever fever.
Oh boy, that's you know what? I'm not touching that. Go ahead, yes.
She's fantastic. I'm sure that she will buff up and bulk up, and they will shoot her to look, bigger than she is or whatever. But this is a coup for both her career, for the show, and you guys all better comment.
And people, I tweeted this out. People forget what Linda Hamilton did to herself for Terminator 2. Look at it. That is a badass woman who clearly went into a workout regimen to convey this character. There's no reason that Kaitlyn Dever can't go into the same kind of regimen. We saw Brie Larson bulk herself up and get into fantastic shape for Captain Marvel. And so there's no way she can't get close to looking like what Abby is. And clearly Abby is someone who carries a lot of the emotion and anger and complexity to this character within her and this world. So you want an actress who's going to do that. Now, I saw Katie in the most recent season of Star Wars. Shit, what was it I was watching? Mandalorian, right? She was the most recent season. But I haven't seen the Kristen Stewart film, so I'm not too familiar on her. But certainly Kaitlyn Dever is the smart choice. That's going to get eyes on this. And Craig Mazin and Druckmann both said like they wanted someone who was going to bring that kind of actor approach to this kind of role. And they went with her. And again, she's a well-known name. So it gets eyes on the project. And if you're going to move Pedro to the back, you want to have two really strong actresses who are going to carry the load in this situation. And that seems to be why the
guys subscribe to the newsletter, because I laid it all out there. Like when I first did that story, like Craig Mazin was following like 70 people on the planet, and he followed Kaitlyn Dever on Instagram or whatever. She also, I didn't even realize she actually had a part in Uncharted 4, the video game, I think.
Yes. Okay.
Which is Neil Druckmann. So it's like he already had a relationship with her as well.
Yeah.
Through Naughty Dog or whatever. So there was just a lot of connections here.
Yeah.
And again, best actress gets the job. Like, I don't care if you look like her or not. If you're a great actress, what does it matter? You don't have to look like her. They'll paint the fucking veins on your forearms. Like, whatever.
Right. And the smart move is to do the interpretation of the character, not do the straight copy, right? What's the big complaint that people have about Lion King, even though it made $1.6 billion? It's just essentially a copy of the animated film. What was the Gus Van Sant did that Psycho movie? He essentially just copied Alfred Hitchcock's movie. So, there's not much artistry to that. You want to give space for people to express that on that side of things. Okay, anything else to say on that one, Jeff, or shall we move on?
We can move on.
Okay, let's talk about Barbie 2, man. You wanted to talk about directors for Barbie.
Yeah, this is supposed to be our segment show. This is feeling too much like our Thursday show. I feel like we need
a big news break today.
I know. It was a crazy news week. I get it.
All right, stop complaining. All right, go ahead.
All right. So last night on the newsletter, I put out 6 names to direct Barbie 2. I don't need to get into all this. Maybe I'll only throw out a few, and you guys can subscribe to the newsletter to see the others. But I wanted to get Johnny's opinion on this. So the name of this segment is Who Should Direct Barbie 2? Because Greta Gerwig signed a 2-picture deal with Netflix to make Narnia movies.
Yes.
I'm sure she would love to have that back. This was like she signed those deals when she thought Barbie, might be a hit, maybe not, maybe a double at best. Yeah. It ended up going 3 times or even more than that past its projections, like the highest projections. So no one, including Greta Gerwig, had any idea what Barbie was going to be. And now she's stuck in fucking Narnia. Like, this makes no sense. This is like directing Avatar and being like, okay, for my follow-up to Avatar, I'm going to make Big Mama's House 3. What?
Wait a minute. Fucking Narnia is not Big Mama's House 3. That is
it kind of is. This is a YA franchise that was just like a series of diminishing returns. That first movie was really good. I guess, listen, she could do something special with it the same way she did Barbie. I'm not denying that she can't make like a great movie out of Narnia. But I'm just like, this is what you want to do? Like, you can write your own ticket. You can do anything in the world, and you want to make a fucking Narnia movie?
Well, like you said, she did it before Barbie. She didn't know what she was going to do next.
And Netflix, and like, you're just like...
Although I imagine, Jeff, because it's Netflix, they must have backed the truck up a little bit, and she's like, okay, I'll do it. I imagine.
Again, I'm not going to believe that she's directing these Narnia movies until I see her on the set, until I see her crawling through a fucking wardrobe. Okay. Like, I just, it's just crazy to me that she's not coming back to do Barbie 2. And if she is, like, okay, then they have to wait to do a Narnia movie. Do they have to wait to do 2? Like, can they slip Barbie 2 in between the Narnia movies, or do they actually have to wait for her to make 2 Narnia movies to do a sequel with her? Or I mean, at that point, you have to move on. It's like corporate malfeasance not to, like, strike while the iron is hot.
Do you want to do a Barbie 2 right after this one? Don't you want to let it sit and simmer for a couple of years and then circle back to a Barbie 2 as the society? Because, I mean, it was a commentary on feminism. It was a commentary on
a couple of years. I mean, you want to put it together now so that in a couple of years, Barbie 2 is ready. I'm not saying Barbie 2 has to be out in time for next summer. I'm not saying rush it like you're Lionsgate doing a Saw movie. Okay.
Yeah, good.
But I think you have to start putting it together. You can't wait for her to go make 2 Narnia movies. You could get a Barbie 2 movie in 7 or 8 years. Like, you can't do that. This is a $1 billion asset.
That's fair.
And it's bigger than Greta Gerwig. So it's like, and does Greta Gerwig even want you to wait? Or is Greta Gerwig like, I just fucking hit a home run, first time at bat, $1 billion movie, going to be a Best Picture nominee. Like, it's Warner Brothers' biggest movie of all time. So why am I coming back to the sequel where it's like all this pressure and expectation? And, you know, maybe she's just like, you know what? If you guys got to move on it fast, like, go for it.
Yeah. But do her and Noah have anything they want to say as a follow-up? I mean, did they blow their wad, in essence, in Barbie? Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and are there other female filmmakers who want to say something? Could this, you know, work in the hands of a male filmmaker? I don't think it necessarily needs a female filmmaker. I think it probably should have one, but it doesn't need it. You know, look at Cruella. And you know what? We're each going to give 3 names, and that's one of the names I'm going to give up.
Go ahead.
Craig Gillespie is on the list.
Okay.
Why is Craig Gillespie on the list outside of Cruella, John?
I think he did a wonderful job with I, Tonya. And so
who starred in I, Tonya?
Margot Robbie. So this is smart on so many levels. A director she's worked with before, and a director that has gotten really good work out of his female leads in these movies without standing in the way of the messaging of these movies. So I think that's a great choice, Craig Gillespie.
Brought a certain flair to Cruella. Yeah, that could, you know, also
I like Cruella.
Barbie. So I think it was generally well liked. So that is one of my 3. I'm gonna give up 3. Okay. Give me one of yours.
Emerald Fennell. It seems like it seems like the most logical choice after what you did with Saltburn, after what you did with Promising Young Woman. You want someone who is young, edgy, in touch with what's going on with women of that age and of that generation, like Greta was. And I think and she could write the script. So you get 2 for 1. And so for me, I think that's a interesting choice to go with Emerald Fennell. It seems to make sense. And you might make it a little bit darker, a little more edgier, a little more of the sexual politics could be a brimming around the edges there for that one.
I don't blame you, but I think you've fallen into a classic trap. Emerald Fennell, she's you know, an exciting female director. Yeah, she certainly is in touch with you know issues that women have to deal with and stuff like that. But I don't get that vibe from her work. I don't look at Saltburn and Promising Young Woman and say, "There's the director of Barbie."
What from fucking Greta's work did you think that was the director of Barbie? Nothing.
No, but I get that argument. But there's a lighter touch, I think. Okay. I don't think that Emerald Fennell is right for Barbie. I think that she leans dark, and not poppy. She is not bubblegum. She is slurping the bathwater and everything else that happens in that movie. She is not Barbie material, actually. But I get why you went there.
Yeah.
Now I will do. Now you could throw it right back in my face because I'll give you another one of the names. Okay,
go ahead.
And that is Lena Dunham.
No.
Lena Dunham never made a studio movie at this size, so I hear you that she may be a long shot, but to me, this was once the voice of a generation, and called
Yeah.
that for a reason. I think she may have something very interesting to say with a Barbie movie. I think she's very much from the Greta Gerwig mold, like when you think about their backgrounds and the kinds of stories that they told and things like that. And she's not quite as polished, but I don't know. I have more faith in Lena than most people, even though the recent stuff hasn't been great.
Yeah, I was never a Girls fan. I'm not a fan of Lena Dunham. I think she's someone who's pretty far up her own ass, and I don't want to see that around Barbie. That's my own personal opinion of her work. Right? No, I don't think
I couldn't stand her last movie either. But
I'm saying I don't think she shouldn't be work. Like clearly, people like her stuff. I would never advocate for her to not get work. Like knock yourself out. It's just my personal opinion about her.
Totally
I would throw in Kelly Freeman Craig. Why not? I mean, Edge of 17. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. A lot of people liking her as a director. She's an up and comer. You could get her for cheaper, I'm sure, and have her put her mainstream tendencies combined with a little bit more of the independent edginess, as you saw in Edge of 17, could be a nice mixture here with her to come in and do a Barbie movie herself and see what kind of take she would have on it.
I think it's a great call. I'm jealous I didn't think of it.
It's only because Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret has been kind of winning some awards in certain shows. I'm not going to bring it up for you to blow your top, but in certain shows. So it got me in my mind to think about that person. So, all right, what's your third choice?
Jamie, our pal Jamie Williams, a friend of the show, is weighing in with a thought on your Kelly.
What do you got, Jamie?
He thinks Kelly would be great for The Wizard of Oz.
I love that idea too. Kelly would be fantastic to do an updated version of The Wizard of Oz. Done and done. Make it happen.
Okay, for my third choice, I'm going to do a real weird one. Okay, this is the weirdest of the 6 that I chose.
Okay.
Oh man, do I want to share that one? All right, yeah, sure. Todd Haynes.
Todd Haynes.
Todd Haynes. Do you know what his first thing was that made Todd Haynes famous?
Existence.
No, what?
Is that Todd Haynes? No, who am I thinking of?
That's like Cronenberg.
Oh, that's Cronenberg. Sorry. Todd
Haynes is the director of May December.
Oh, Carol, right? And May
December. But the first thing that Todd Haynes did was Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story, which was a movie starring Barbies.
Oh.
So he made a movie starring, featuring actual Barbie figurines.
Yeah.
And it's actually not bad. And he is a very highfalutin kind of artsy filmmaker, but May December had a sort of tongue-in-cheekness to it. I don't know. I threw him out there for fun.
You're going with 2 dudes. Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I made a list of 6. There were only 2 women on it.
I didn't see his Velvet Underground. I need to watch that documentary. I know Dark Waters was great with him and Ruffalo. Carol, certainly good. I didn't watch Mildred Pierce. I'm not there. I thought was a good one. But Far From Heaven, I think, is fantastic. So I like the idea.
A solid filmmaker. It's a little bit out there, but
okay. I'm trying to choose between these 2. I hate to go with constantly white blondes, but I'm going to do that one more time. Although Chloe Zhao is like someone I would think would be very interesting to see do her version of Barbie, a woman of color. I'd like to see that, but I'm going to throw Sarah Polley out there for you to consider.
That's a good one too,
right? Someone with independent cred who writes these really moving, emotionally touching films, but daring films as well. Could be interesting to see what Sarah has to say in a big studio situation, which I don't think she's ever done. Could be interesting to see what Sarah Polley could do with a Barbie 2 situation and where she'd go with that.
I think you did a great job with this assignment. Nicely done,
Thank you.
John. Good segment.
Thank you.
The only other woman I'll throw out there who was on the
Mhm.
list, and if you guys want to see the other names, you'll have to subscribe to the Insider. But
Yeah.
Kathy Yan. I mean, she did
Oh,
Birds
that's
of
a great
Prey
choice.
with Margot, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Hasn't done anything since then.
Yeah.
But the thing about her though is I don't think you just give her that gig. I want to see something from her, like one more. So like she would have to I'd want to see her maybe make a smaller movie, and if that movie was good, I'd give her the gig.
Okay. All right. Can I throw one more out there?
Yeah.
Real quick. Maggie Gyllenhaal, with what she just did with, was it The Lost Daughter with
good suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Maggie, and I liked her. I've always liked her voice as an actress. She's no dummy, and I think it would be really interesting to see her take and point of view on a Barbie 2 movie and where she'd go with that. So yeah, I love Maggie.
There's no question. There's a lot of women who could fill in and do a good job.
Don't get triggered, guys. Don't get triggered. There's a lot of women that could do. Yeah,
of course. I don't know that they all have to, do the job that Greta Gerwig did. Like I'd expect people to want to make their own movie and take things in their own direction. But if Greta, for whatever reason, doesn't wind up returning, I'm sure that they will find someone very, very capable.
Well, now what about, this is Scott, no offense, man, but that's a dumb statement. You talk about Barbie as if it's God, but we aren't. It made $1 billion, bruh. So you have to be careful about who you get. And if it's going to be a film about gender politics or exploring more of the gender politics angles, you've got to find a good writer and director who are going to be able to do that as well as Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig did. So it's not The Godfather. We're not saying that, but there's a respect to that for what it achieved that you have to kind of have that when you're approaching it. All right, let's take a quick break, Jeff, since we're at the hour mark again. And
I'd love to wrap up by 5:30 at the latest.
You got to tell me that at the beginning. Okay, well then we'll come back and hit these Streamlabs and Superchats. Because I got to get to a Mean Girls screening myself, which I do not want to go to right after this. All right, there it is. There it is. Well said, Jeff. Well said. Let's get to it here. Let me see where we left off. When last we left the Streamlabs and Superchats, Owen Rohn says Harloff and Weintraub said they heard great things about Dune 2. Jeff, have you heard anything about it as well? Any idea when reviews will be coming out?
Yes, the reviews will be coming out before the movie. That's a hot exclusive. You heard it here first. Make sure to credit me. Have I heard anything about it? I mean, it seems like they're pretty bullish on it. Like they already want to do that third movie, right? They've basically already put that into motion. So yeah, I think it looks just like very obviously much better.
Yeah,
I'll be honest about that. Like I just think that they had a lot of shit to set up in that first movie.
Yes,
I'm not a huge fan of the first movie. I think this one actually looks a lot better.
Do not judge the first movie for what it had to do so you could enjoy the second movie. Judge them together. Judge them together. Mike Joyce says, why a Mandalorian and Grogu movie? As Yogurt said, merchandising. Yes. Trace Fire says, do you think if this Mando movie fails, Dave's movies turns into a Disney Plus movie or event series? I don't know what that means. Dave's movies. Am I off base on that?
Filoni.
Filoni's movie. Do you think Filoni's movie turns into a Disney Plus movie? No. I don't think so. I feel like he's in charge, kind of. So I don't think he put his movie on Disney Plus. Do you think, Jeff?
I think every little boy basically, has a dream to direct a Star Wars movie. And if Dave Filoni's gotten this far and elevated to that, high up in the company, he's not going to just let them demote it back to a TV show.
True. NLSFC 96 says, Jeff, why was the Golden Globes even a topic on entertainment sites? From what I hear, it was a horrible overall show. Is it even a legit show to predict the Oscars? Don't get why it even exists anymore. Here we go. Jeff, any comment on this?
Is it a legit? Let's start there. Is it a legit show to predict the Oscars? Absolutely not. There's no overlap. Not one person who votes for the Golden Globes votes for the Oscars.
So you're saying there's no way Lily Gladstone wins Best Actress? There's no way Oppenheimer wins Best Picture?
That there's no. What do you mean? It's just like if they
then
did,
it predicts the Oscars, for fuck's sake.
It doesn't predict. What do you mean?
Go ahead. Just because the people voting aren't the people voting for the Oscars doesn't mean that they aren't a reflection of other critics' opinions and feelings about these movies. So it could predict the Oscars, whether you like it or not. And that's what I think is.
I think we're getting hung up on the word predict. I think it has no influence and no bearing whatsoever on the Oscars. Is it a legit show to predict? I just don't understand how it would help in terms of predicting the Oscars.
It might
if your job, like, and your life depended on it, were to predict the Oscars, how do the Golden Globes factor into your analysis?
There could be a critic that you follow as a voting member of the Oscars, because not all the Oscars are voted on by critics, right? So it's a mixture of numerous people.
Oscars aren't voted on by any critics; they're voted on by professionals.
Well, there we go. So they may follow a critic that is a member of the Hollywood Foreign Press that they like and trust that person's opinion. And if that person votes for a certain way, or if the Hollywood Foreign Press votes a certain way, that could influence Oscar voters who are watching it to reconsider a movie or to look at their ballot yet again and see if maybe they've missed something or misjudged something. So it can have an influence. You can't unequivocally say
it has as much influence. You could argue the same thing as if the mailman hands you the ballot at your house as the voter, and you say, "Hey, mailman, what was your favorite movie of the year?" And he tells you, "Okay, thanks. I'm going to go fill out my ballot now."
Let me ask you something. So you don't think the New York Film Critics Association influences anybody? You don't think the National Board of Review influences anybody?
No.
You don't think the Critics' Choice influences anybody?
Not a single Academy member is
as long
sitting
as you're
there.
Consistent, brother. I respect
100% consistent.
All right.
Critics are delusional. They're completely irrelevant, John. Okay, they've never been less relevant.
Aren't you on a show called FYC where all three of you are critics? So what is I'm confused.
I'm doing a show for YouTube people. For people who sit and watch YouTube all day. I'm not doing a show for the industry. There's no costume designer who is sitting there filling out their Oscar ballot going, what did the Critics' Choice Association give it to?
I can't say that. I can't.
Hold on. Wait.
I'm glad you're confident to say that.
Who won the LA Film Critics for supporting actress? I got it. What are you talking about? No one fucking votes like this. Use your head.
I'm saying you're bashing critics, and I'm saying you're on a show with critics. You're a critic yourself.
So what? I'm confused. And we've never been less relevant. If it was fucking the 90s, we'd all be fucking Roger Ebert, and me and Scott and Perry would be eating filet mignon every night. Okay, like that's not how it fucking is.
But the truth of this thing is, and please, let's not fucking make it highfalutin. A lot of these people in the industry sometimes give it to their assistants to vote on these categories. And I've heard that story many times from people in the business who've been Oscar voters in the past, who have told me in confidence that they have given it to their assistant or to their co-worker there and their department to vote because they don't want to vote on the Oscars and they're busy. And so it is possible that someone who hasn't seen the movies, as Joe Coy hadn't seen the movies before he hosted the Golden Globes, that they turn to a critics organization that they know or respect and just kind of follow that lead. That is possible.
I love it. No, they don't, John. You're insane. They turn to a critics organization that they respect. No one respects John, like you said, they turn to their assistant. They turn to the fucking cleaning lady and they say, fill this out.
Yeah, I'm saying the assistant turns to the critics organization because he or she is not knowledgeable enough about the movies, and so just
that the assistant is. Oh my god!
All right, fine. I'm just saying it's possible. You're saying it's not possible. Somehow you have the science on that. Pepper Rivera says, "Did SAG approve the deal? Not sure if I missed it. Well, the actors deal, yes, but not the voiceover deal. And what do you think about that, Jeff? That came out today that they signed a contract with a AI company to supposedly take control of likenesses. My friend described it as boiling the frog, and I think he's right. What are your quick thoughts?
I didn't see that SAG news, so I'm not familiar with the details, but I did see whether it was SAG or the WJ that somebody was using like AI in like an advertisement that they put on social media. Yeah. And it was like, isn't this like what we just fought about?
Yeah,
man, AI is coming, and you're not even gonna like. it's just going to become so natural. You don't even think about using it.
Yeah.
I
was watching deep fake
don't know what else
stuff
can do.
from the other night, and it's mind blowing. That was 3 years ago. The videos I was watching were from 3 years ago, so I can only imagine how much more on point it is now. But yeah, SAG-AFTRA signed a deal today with an AI voiceover studio that sets the terms for the use of artificial intelligence in video games. We will come back to that story on Thursday or Friday, whenever we do our show next later on this week, because I want to hear more from other people about it before we talk.
You want to know what's a fascinating story that I want to get into in the newsletter?
With 15 minutes left and all these super chats? Sure. Go ahead.
I'm going to surprise you with it. Did you see that, let's say that there were like 315 movies eligible for the Oscars this year, that only like 267 of them or something are eligible for Best Picture. So basically 17% of the movies that are eligible for Oscars in every, in just normal categories are not eligible for Best Picture because of the new Academy things. And Variety gave 5 examples of those movies that aren't eligible. David Poland in his newsletter does the math on those movies and finds them eligible immediately.
Wow.
So it's like, so if they're eligible, the reason that they're actually ineligible is that they just didn't do the paperwork. Okay, because no one wants to go to the trouble of having to be like, do we have? What's your sexuality and what's your ethnic? It's just like, this is not conducive to art. I am so far against the Academy inclusion things, because it's also such a low standard. It's like, why, if you're going to have such a low standard, why even have the fucking standard in the first place? Poland did a great job at annihilating the fucking thing today, and it's a good read. So,
are you against the Rooney Rule in the NFL as well?
Huh?
Are you against the Rooney Rule in the NFL as well? That is the bare minimum you can do, is to interview one black candidate or minority candidate.
Yeah, no, I'm not against that rule. No, that's a good rule.
So the rule is in place, even though you may think it's useless and it's such a low bar, it still is in place to signify something. You may not agree with it, but it is in place to signify something.
Right.
Now, I agree.
So the Academy, dude, it does signify something. It signifies the fucking Academy being like, here's a gesture of goodwill to show you that we care about racism and inclusion and all this shit. Yeah. And it fucking means nothing.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I think it should be harder. I think it should be even more stringent. I agree with you. But that's just my personal thoughts on it all. Because we are too soft when it comes to that kind of stuff. We want to hold hands and come up with terms like unconscious racism to make people feel better. And it's bullshit. Connor Farley says, any word on if Cillian Murphy will be bagging himself another big role soon? I don't know, Jeff. Have you heard anything on Cillian Murphy bagging a new role?
I mean, there's these rumors that he's going to do a Peaky Blinders movie, right? And it's like, if you do win the Oscar, which I don't think that he will, but if you do win the Oscar, how do you follow that up with and you go back to the TV show that's kept you afloat the last few years? Like,
is this a Narnia thing? Do you think this is a Narnia thing a little bit? Like, why go back to this?
Yeah, I just think if you win Best Actor, like, it's time to like call up Spielberg and some shit. Like, what are we doing? Messing around with Peaky Blinders, the movie? What?
Yeah, I know. I don't disagree with you, man. I don't disagree with you. Although I love Peaky Blinders and would love to see him do it. Mumra says, will Cobra Kai Season 6 be out before the film in December and connect to it? I would think Daniel's family would have to be in it. Also, will Swank be in either one? Well, Cobra Kai just started shooting, so I don't imagine it'll be done in time before the movie. What about you, Jeff? What do you think?
I haven't watched Cobra Kai, so again, I don't know. Yeah, I know it's explored a whole bunch of corners of Daniel's life and family and all that shit. I have no fucking idea. I don't have any info.
I think it's like an Elseworlds thing, that movie with him and Jackie Chan, because Jackie Chan is supposed to be playing, if I remember correctly, Mr. Miyagi, this updated version of Mr. Miyagi. So you can't have two Mr. Miyagis, can you? Unless he's related to Pat Morita's character in some way, which I didn't see the Karate Kid with Will Smith and Jackie Chan. So maybe that's something they established, but I don't know. And I can't imagine a series being shot starting in January and being ready by the end of the year before the movie comes out in December. That doesn't seem right to me. So Joel Davis says, Deadline is reporting season 4 of The Mandalorian is still happening. What have you heard? Okay. That's shocking to me.
I mean, again, it's semantics. They're basically saying there's a season of the Mandalorian that will happen after the movie. Are we calling that season 4, or are we calling the movie effectively season 4, or some sort of interlude between season 3.5? I mean, it's just semantics.
Okay, all right. All right, let's see. We got another one here from Christian Harloff chiming in. What did Jeff think of the Golden Globes, and did the right people win, Jeff?
I glanced at the winners. I will cop to that. It did look like the right people won. I mean, I love that Paul Giamatti won.
Okay.
Do I think that the Golden Globes voters are a bunch of geniuses for recognizing something I've been talking about since September? No. Do I think that he's gaining momentum in the race and you're seeing a lot of pundits switch their votes? Yes. I think that photo of him at In-N-Out, that was one of the 2 most viral moments of the show. And that's the point that I'm getting at. No one fucking remembers the show. No one's going to fucking remember the winners 2 days from now. What you're going to remember is the Taylor Swift moment, right, with Miles Teller's wife, Selena Gomez. And you're going to remember that photo of fucking Paul Giamatti at In-N-Out after. Those are the 2 things.
And
am I wrong?
No, yeah, you're wrong. Lily Gladstone's speech is going to be remembered. A lot of people still talking about that speech. The Pedro moment is going to be remembered with him and Kieran Culkin, which was really funny when he told Pedro to suck it.
I don't know what you're talking about because I did not watch the show. I didn't watch it for a single second.
Well, there you go.
I did watch the monologue on YouTube, and that was bad.
Yeah, he just did the wrong thing. He should have just been himself. That was a big mistake. Shamrock Vibes says, it's weird thinking of Greta Gerwig making the Narnia movies when you think about how Susan is described later. C.S. Lewis hates her for wanting to be free. I don't know much about. I read the books, but I don't know much about this, so I can't speak on this. Jeff, do you know anything about this?
I don't know who Susan is. I don't know what you're talking about. But like back to the Golden Globes again.
Okay.
It went from 86 or 87 members to 300 members.
Yes.
These 300 members are pulled from all over the world. You've never read a single thing they've written.
I don't know who if people have read a single thing they've written. Go ahead.
Okay.
You have these narratives that have seriously no basis. You have no defense for these narratives. They're just narratives in your head, but you actually can't prove that no one has read their stuff. You actually can't prove it, Jeff.
I read everything all the time. I have never read any article of substance, any significant article from a single member of the whatever that group is. It's not even the HFPA anymore.
Yeah.
To
me, I don't know who's in it, but I can't imagine you can be in it and no one has read your stuff.
I know that there's a 21-year-old freelancer from Nigeria in the group.
Ooh, I got to get in this group, man.
Now, the country is neither here nor there. It's the age that sticks out to me. So she's a 21-year-old freelancer.
Okay.
What has she done to deserve the power that this industry imbues in her as far as a vote for the Golden Globes?
I wouldn't know. I haven't done the research on it.
She's a part of the group because she's Nigerian, and they needed more people of color so that they would look good to executives. I mean, this whole night is just a grift. It's just everyone in Hollywood with their hand out, whether it's the makeup people or the people doing hair or the publicists who walk you down the carpet or the security guy or the chef. I'm telling you, it's just Hollywood hates to cancel a good party. But why is it these 300 journalists you've never heard of?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why aren't the Golden Globes the Critics' Choice Awards? If they if we know everyone in the Critics' Choice Awards, right?
Mm-hmm.
How come the Critics' Choice Awards don't just call themselves the Golden Globes and they get the broadcast slot and that's it?
I don't know how many foreign film reviewers and journalists are in the Critics' Choice. That's what separates the Golden Globes. It's not a domestic organization. That's what separates.
Right. No, I know. It may have Golden Globes voters in it. I get that.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what makes this group, why we have to pretend that this award show means anything when this group just takes free trips and, free. I mean, it's insane, the perks that come with being in this group.
You're a freelancer now, bro. You got your own website. You're a great reporter, great investigator. Go and find out. Write an expose on the Golden Globes organization, Jeff. I think it'd be fantastic to see you write a really,
the LA Times already did, and we all thought that this show was dead and buried, and all these publicists led this.
Changes, supposedly. So.
They made chart changes, yes.
Even Will Ferrell.
They made changes.
All right, Thunderwolf BGN says Lena Dunham is actually developing Polly Pocket movie with Lily Collins. It was announced immediately after the Barbie success. Oof.
There you go. Mattel's already has a relationship with Lena Dunham. Maybe they love what she's doing with Polly Pocket, and they're like, let's get her on Barbie. This Polly Pocket script is the best thing I've ever read. Can we get Ken in Polly Pocket?
Who's doing the live-action Bluey movie? That's what I want to know. Haunted_Autumn says, Todd Field for Barbie 2, artistic flair of Jesse James and Tar with the ability to direct strong women and powerful performances.
Jesse James.
Yeah. I don't know.
He didn't do Jesse James. I'm very confused.
Yeah, I'm confused too. Anyway, Todd Field, I don't think is the right choice. Let's see. No. Connor asks, any word on if Cillian Murphy has another big role in the pipeline? I think we addressed that already. Mike McKenzie following up on the pitch saying the Halifax explosion was the largest man-made explosion before Oppenheimer's atomic bomb. It happened on December 1917 in the city of Halifax. 2,000 people died. 9,000 people were injured. Boston came in with relief. YouTube has more information if you want to explore that. So that was the pitch, a follow-up to the pitch he had said to us, directed by Denis Villeneuve, Ryan Gosling as Vince Coleman, Roger Deakins to shoot it. I mean, sure. If you can get people interested in that, why not? Jeff?
What are we talking about?
Yeah, no, let's move on. Anthony V says, Happy New Year. You are both fun to listen to at end of the workday. With Wonka's global success, do you think Warner Brothers will green light more films? And Patrick Stewart said there is a script for a Picard movie. Have you heard any Star Trek film news? Yeah, Jeff, with everything that's going on with Paramount in flux, though, I don't imagine you'll hear too much. Do you hear anything?
No.
Okay.
Star Trek. Jeez, that's a TV franchise.
How dare you? I will stomp your nuts in the dust.
That is a TV franchise if I've ever seen one.
How fucking dare you? How dare you, sir? All right, one last one. Sloth had two questions. Is Sneider interested in purchasing online tickets for Sundance films this year? Sneider's going, isn't he? Can Sneider reveal the details he's heard about Trey Edward Schultz's next project with Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan? Jeff.
I mean, that sounds like it's a loose remake of Misery, right? Where Jenna Ortega, where Jenna Ortega is playing like his the weekend stalker. So it sounds interesting. Yeah. I'm not going to Sundance. I definitely cannot afford to go to Sundance.
Oh, okay.
I did get a handful of online tickets, but unfortunately, the big name movies are not available online.
Oh, yeah.
So, I got to get a little creative. I did get a handful of tickets to the big movies at Sundance, even though I won't be there. I don't know if I'll be allowed to get those tickets and basically give them to some people at the festival, or if it's just like, you give up all your tickets if you're not coming. I don't know.
Jeremy said, Jeff, you host 2 shows with Star Trek lovers. For the love of God, have some respect, is what he's trying to say, with Mance and I. So,
guys, Star Trek. Well, what do you want from me? What is this show? What is this world?
Aaliyah Aloha says, Baloney said that the publicist that led the battle against the Golden Globes was at the Golden Globes.
Kelly Bush. Yes. I mean, that's the thing, everybody, she was probably doing the right thing, being like, we got to stop this. We got to put an end to this. And everyone's like, no. Like, we all get paid. This is fucking payday for us. Yeah. Kelly, just fall in line. And eventually she has to kowtow to it. And, her biggest client is now up for all the top awards. So, yeah. You got to play the game. It's not about you at that point. It's about Chris Nolan.
Yeah. And Nolan won and delivered a really nice speech. Hey, look, I get your point, but I do think those things matter. And not for the industry people, because we can be sarcastic and snarky. As I said, important snarky critics can hate the Golden Globes all they want. I didn't mean just you. I've heard it from a number of critics. To me, it was like, it's important for creatives, because I come in from a different point of view. For me, growing up as a kid, watching the Golden Globes, and watching the Oscars was huge. Seeing people that I cared about, actors that I cared about, movies that I loved, getting rewarded, getting recognition. It was also a great way for me to learn about new directors, new actors, new projects, new films, new creatives, costume designers, score, composers. It was a great way for me to learn. So I know the other side of it. You can be sarcastic and snarky and yes, handout, all that. And I get it. It's a fair criticism. But for people on the outside of the bubble who are coming up as young actors or young creatives, there is something there to enjoy and get knowledge from and get a good experience from. And that's why I tweeted Lily's speech. And as she said at the end, this is for every res kid, urban kid. It matters. And for me, seeing certain Latin actors being recognized or being nominated, it mattered. So, that's my point of view when I come to these award shows. But I don't disagree with your criticism. That's what I would say.
Okay.
What? Go ahead, please.
Well, that's it. I'm good. We can move on.
I'm open to your thoughts, Jeff. Please. I create space to hear your point of view on these things.
I've said all I need to say about the Golden Globes. This is a fake award show whose nominees are decided by a consultant. And do we want to get into your organization?
Sure. I don't think we have time, but if you wanted to, I'm happy to do it on Thursday.
I mean, a tie? Really? A tie?
Yeah, I'm sure there was. Do you want me to get Scott Menzel to come on the show with vote totals? I can reach out to him and see if he's willing to do it. He's the organizer of the
How many people are in this organization?
I don't know right now how many are in because some people left, some people got recruited in.
I'm not saying a tie is impossible.
We've had ties at the Oscars, for fuck's sake.
Ties happened.
Yeah.
Bit of a coincidence.
You should say that in a British accent. Hunted_Autumn says, just sending this in to drag the show on and give you an excuse to miss that screening of Mean Girls. LOL. No, there's no way out for me. Michael Niff says, any thoughts on Sebastian Stan and A Different Man? I don't know what that is. Jeff,
I've heard it's good. I've heard that's going to be a standout movie at Sundance.
Really? Okay. All right. Done and done. Looking forward to it. All right. I think that's it. Anything else you want to bring up before we wrap up, brother? Because we're at 5:31. Do you want to bring up anything?
I will give you. Let's do a movie pitch. Since I solicited the movie pitches, I did choose two, but we only have time for one.
Okay. All right.
So I'm going to pick this one because
let's take a quick break and then we'll come back so I can put commercials here on the podcast. Okay. So we'll take one quick 5-second break and we'll be right back right after this. All right, Jeff, bring it. What's the pitch?
Okay, I want to wrap this up in like 5 to 10 minutes here, but
sounds good.
This is from Sawyer Johnson.
Okay. Hello, Sawyer.
On the outskirts of a modern-day sundown town, the stories of two gay burglars, a congregation of white supremacists, and the newly elected Latino sheriff collide, causing a swift, violent escalation of racial and political tension in Southern Nights.
Ooh.
Okay, so we've got a movie called Southern Nights from Sawyer Johnson. It is set in a southern sort of sundown town.
Okay.
We've got two gay burglars.
I like it.
A congregation of white supremacists. So maybe we'll pick one white supremacist leader and a Latino sheriff.
Okay.
Do you think this sounds like a movie you would want to see? Does it sound like who would you cast? Who directs? Give me a little bit of juice and we'll switch off here.
I would change the title. Southern Nights is the Glenn Campbell song, so I can't get that out of my head. So I would change the title. And it seems too simple of a title for what you want to say. Are the burglars are they of ethnic origin?
Are they together? I want to know. Are they just two gay guys? Or are they a couple?
Right, because it wouldn't matter if it's white supremacists if they're not of color. You can just say anti-LGBTQ people. They have their own organizations as well. Usually it's a church, but they have an organization.
Like white supremacists, like you feel like the white supremacists, like there's not enough conflict because the burglars are gay, and it's not clear that whites.
Right.
Like,
yes.
Okay.
I mean, there are gay white supremacists. So from the LGBTQ plus community. So I would like to see. There are. I would like to see I would question if the burglars are of a black, Asian, Latino, whatever. So, and is it women or is it men? Are they gay men, gay women? So that's the question as well. So yeah, these are the questions I would have. But yes, go ahead.
So what happens when these stories collide? You've got gay burglars, white supremacists, and a Latino sheriff. Like, what is the movie?
I think gay burglars rob a high-ranking member of the white supremacist or get caught robbing. The sheriff arrests them, holds off the white supremacists, knowing there's been trouble with them in the town for quite some time. And essentially, this is an old school Western where the sheriff has to keep these people alive.
To hide them,
and essentially high noon, and essentially hide them, keep them safe, not fully high noon, but kind of high noon, and fight off the town. Because like in real life, white supremacists, if they become big enough, they can scare people who would normally never align themselves with white supremacists to align themselves with white supremacists because their businesses or their homes or their loved ones or themselves might be in danger, mortal danger from these white supremacists. So they might also try to influence the Latino sheriff. And the Latino sheriff should have barely won becoming sheriff of the town. So it adds more tension to the situation.
Who plays the Latino sheriff?
That's got to be Javier Bardem or Oscar Isaac. Those are the only two choices, in my opinion, at this point in my mind. Because you want a name. And we're all Pedro Pascal'd out. So, you know.
I was going to say, what about Pedro Pascal? I mean, honestly, I'm trying to find a role for the guy who starred in Flamin' Hot, but I don't think that this is it. I don't think
Michael Pena.
No,
the other guy, right? Sorry, Michael Pena was in the
Jesse Garcia, maybe.
Yes.
I thought that guy was great, but I don't necessarily see him as like the newly elected sheriff.
That makes it a smaller film if you cast him. That's more of a smaller, like Lionsgate type of film, you know.
Okay. All right. Gay burglars. Who do I want to see as the gay burglars? I guess you're right. Are they of color? Are they women? Are they men? All those kinds of questions.
Could be Coleman Domingo and Pedro Pascal, two well-known names who are
older burglars. I saw them. I mean, I saw them as younger in my head.
Okay, that's fair. I could see these guys as doing one last job. Have been long-time burglars. One convinces the other to do it, or whatever. But yes, Young could go. You could see Young because the sheriff's got to be the lead. So yeah, the young guys have to be under the sheriff in essence and dependent on his protection. So yeah, all right, fair point. What do you got?
No, I think we need a little bit more, guys. So like when you submit these movie pitches, maybe a little bit more than just the log line. Like feel free to email me, give me a little bit more of like a taste of the vibe and that kind of thing. I mean,
I like this suggestion.
Who directs this? Who directs this movie? That's what we got to figure out.
I like Damian Bashir. That would be a great sheriff. I like that idea.
Ooh, okay.
As good as he was in Hateful Eight, I like that idea.
Who directs Southern Night?
I mean, can you get Coogler?
Going down south? What about Nick Pizzolatto?
Oh, a True Detective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Not bad.
But you know he's going to add some weird shit to it.
It's the occult.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah. Okay, that was it. That was it for Southern Nights.
Do you like my contributions? Yeah. Oh, Martin McDonough. Yeah. Martin McDonough. That is a great choice.
Who does good? I mean, what about David Gordon Green? He used to make good Southern movies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fincher's too hot.
Thank you, Sawyer Johnson, for even sending us that and entrusting us with that movie pitch.
I like that pitch.
It's a little bit more meat on the bone for us to chew on.
Yeah. Make sure you give it a little more, flesh it out a little bit. But I think I gave you enough flesh you could play with. Mumra says, my pitch, a biopic on Jim Henson like Hanks did with Mr. Rogers. Who would play Henson? Show his work with the Muppets, Star Wars, David Bowie, and Disney. Ooh.
I got to look what Jim Henson looks like.
What about what's his face from 8th grade? The stand-up guy. I can't think of his name right now.
Bo Burnham?
Yeah, Bo Burnham. What about Bo Burnham?
All right, I've got it. You ready for this?
Go ahead. Break it down.
Tim Blake Nelson.
No. Ooh, Evan Moss Backrack could be an interesting one as Jim Henson. Tall, skinny guy. That's possible. I like that idea. Wyatt Russell.
Oh wait, what about Eddie Redmayne?
Oh no. I'm not,
All right.
Eddie Jupiter Ascending.
Okay. Anyways, that's our show
That's
for
our
the week,
show.
right? Do we do all of our segments?
Yeah, we did everything. except for the
All
Jonathan
right.
Majors interview, which you didn't want to do anyway. So let's move
I mean,
on.
real quickly, John, you can give me your impressions. I mean, what was the upside to this interview?
None.
I mean,
Zero.
You haven't even been sentenced. I mean, say the wrong thing and the judge takes it the wrong way and she could throw the book at you. Like, it makes this guy should.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
It's just funny that, like, we're talking about how his team hasn't let him go yet. Like, his agent is still with him, and I mean, he did lose some members of his team, but his agent's still with him and everything. And it's like, dude, he's the one who's got to get rid of his team. Like, these people are giving him horrible advice. I don't know if they're giving him good advice and he's just not taking it. He's not listening. But like, what are you doing? It's so easy. You just go in there, you show remorse. I'm so sorry that this got to this point. I'm committed to doing anger management classes and therapy and all this stuff. And in a few years back, guaranteed you have your career back.
Yeah. 100%.
This looks bad. It made it worse.
Yeah, and I don't know, it was a Variety or Hollywood Reporter broke it down and said that, like, they interviewed some lawyers and said this could backfire on him big time because it's before he got sentenced. The judge could look at him trying to relitigate the case in court of public opinion and be like, well, all right, go to jail then. I wasn't going to put you in jail, but since you're not willing to accept the judgment of the jury, I'm going to put you in jail so you can taste it a little bit. And that may be Jonathan Majors' overall goal here, is to turn himself into a victim, because he certainly relitigated the case in the interview and called her into question, blamed her, showed his one cut here and a scar on his, like a little bit of skin taken off his arm. And he essentially did what he couldn't do in the courtroom, was to go on the stand and testify. He did it in the court of public. My problem with that interview was that the reporter did not push back on some of his comments. And if that was the agreement, then I think that's, I call it the ethics of that journalist into question, because you got to push back. You got to ask questions. You're on a national program like Good Morning America, Nightline. You've got to ask the tough questions and press him on certain issues. But yes, other than that, you're 100% right. This did him no favors. I mean, maybe with some sections of people who feel he was wrongly convicted or wrongly whatever, and he brought in race and brought in, what a black man running down the street chasing a white woman in reverse, it would be terrible, which is fair to point out. But I just don't understand what the point of any of this was. But why on ABC, Jeff? Why do you think Disney was okay with him going on ABC? Are they still somewhat protecting him? Do they think that this is a bad situation for him, and down the road they may want him to come back? What's the thought process there?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah,
it was weird, but it's. I mean, I think you just go who you're comfortable with, and if he was comfortable with her, right?
Yeah.
If he knew her beforehand, I don't know if he did or not.
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's say that he was, or his team was.
Yeah.
Then I guess it doesn't really matter where she works.
Yeah, I guess.
Exclusive. It's just like I just want to tell someone who I can trust with my story and will, not surprise me with gotcha questions or whatever.
Unfortunately, when you're in the public eye, sometimes you've got to swallow, even if you think you're being wronged in a situation, you got to swallow it, take the hit, do the rehabilitation, then come on back, because people want to forgive. So, but we'll see. We'll see in the long run what it leads to. But all right, thanks for letting me talk about it. All right, there you go. That's our show. We got to get out of here. Jeff, where can people find you? Another fun show. Please let people know where they can subscribe to your newsletter and read anything you're working on.
TheInsnyder.com. All kinds of scoops getting confirmed. 3 scoops today.
Ew.
So if you like this stuff and you care about it, give it a read. I don't know. Listen, I hear the complaints about the pricing. Let me see what I can do.
No, You have to make money. You have to live and pay your bills.
I do have to make money, but it's like, okay, could I? I know that if I cut the price in half, then you got to get twice as many people to sign up.
Are you?
No, I don't think I can afford to do that right now.
Yeah.
But eventually, I would like to bring the price down. I know it's not cheap. It's tricky. There's a lot. There's a lot of factors that go into pricing something like this, I guess.
Yeah,
I want to be able to offer more. That's for sure. I want to be able to offer subscribers, give them more than just a newsletter. But again, almost 5 newsletters a week, and they're thousands of words. And if you print it all out, it's going to be thick like a magazine. And you'd be like, would I pay $9.99 for this magazine at the checkout of a supermarket? Yeah, you would. Once a month.
Agreed. All right, well, there you go. As for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Please remember to subscribe. Down below, hit that bell button as well. And like I said, leave a comment on any of the topics we talked about. Keep it civil. I had to delete like 100 comments over the weekend from some of the most just ridiculous stuff that people were saying. You know, I don't mind you got issues with me or Jeff. Just keep it respectful. That's all we're saying. So please don't do that down there. And if you do, I'll just delete it and no one will read your stuff. You waste paragraphs and paragraphs for no one to read it. And if you want to send us support through the super thanks button down below, hit that, send in some love here for the show as well. And look for my out of theater reaction for Mean Girls later tonight, and Geek Buddy stuff coming up later on this week, and the hot mic coming back later on this week as well.
Now you're seeing Mean Girls tonight because you want to see it, right?
No.
So why are you going, John?
Because I might get some views on a out of theater reaction for it. So that's the job of running a YouTube channel, Jeff. You've got to.
I guess, but it's like I don't know. I think you should. It's better when you talk about things you're passionate about. I gave this advice to a young journalist today, where it's just like he was feeling like burned out. Right. He's like, I write all day and then I go to these screenings at night and it's like, I don't have any time like for me. It's like, you got to stop going to every screening and just go to the stuff you want to see. Don't feel like you pressured to see stuff just because people are going to click on the video or the article. But I get it. You have a business to run here.
I have a business to run. Yeah.
Here's the thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Continue. Finish.
No, I'm just saying like those are the exchanges you have to make sometimes. But I will tell you this, like I don't go see the most of the animated films I don't go see because that's not my jam usually. So, you know, but with something like this, I did like the original. I like musicals, so I want to give it a chance. And I like Angourie Rice, but I have a bad feeling since it's coming out in January that it's not going to be a good situation. So,
all right, it's fine. The thing I wanted to ask about, guys, so it's like I you know, and I'm figuring out the flexibility of the pricing and the deals and the discounts that the Beehive can offer, but it's like it offers an annual subscription, a monthly subscription.
Okay.
But like, what if you just wanted to sample it for a day, right? What if you just wanted to see my newsletter that day? What if you just like were a fan of Jenna Ortega or Carrie Coon or The Last of Us, and you're like, I don't need a subscription to this guy for a year or even for a month. I just want to see today's newsletter.
Yeah.
Right. How can I pay per issue? Right.
Yeah.
Remember, like when you used to buy a song on iTunes for 99 cents or $1.99? That's what I'd love to price each newsletter at, right? So that non-fans would pay 99 cents to read would they read a scoop? The question is, how do you do that, right? Like what? Because even on Patreon, I don't think you can charge per post, right? You charge for a subscription, and then someone sees every post, right?
Right. You'll get to see every post because you pay this much per month. Yes.
So honestly, the only site that I can think of where you can pay per post, is OnlyFans.
You can go on OnlyFans. You don't have to show your ass on OnlyFans.
No, of course. And that's what I'm saying. Could you get if I tweeted if I'm like, okay, exclusive Brad Pitt to play Sentry in Thunderbolts. Right. You want to read this scoop, but you don't want to subscribe to me. Here's the OnlyFans link. Do you pay 99 cents to unlock that post? How many people would do that? If you got 10,000, imagine if you got 10,000 people who do want to click that post, right?
Sure.
And then you're charging them all 99 cents and you're made.
Yeah, you made $10,000 off one article. That's for sure.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't know, man. I may give it a shot. I may become the first entertainment reporter to break news on OnlyFans.
Okay. And let's see those feet, Jeff. Put it on OnlyFans, those feet here. No, put them down. No. Explore it. And
Okay.
listen,
On that note,
you got to have multiple revenue streams, brother, man. Like you've got to think bigger. Like you just here. No, you got to be able to drop stuff in numerous places to stay alive in this world. I discovered that after, I was very fortunate that when Collider let me go, I had multiple revenue streams in motion and then added the YouTube channel to those revenue streams, because you got to stay alive. So if you can do that with OnlyFans to certain people who might be interested in it and the novelty of an entertainment reporter on it, it makes sense. It makes sense. So try it out.
I have thought about reading the news topless. I do have a lovely hairy chest.
Yes.
I'm like Wolverine.
Are you though?
Without the muscles.
Yeah. Wolverine Jr. Lil Wolverine. All right. Anyway, let's get out of here. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. We love you all madly. Be safe out there and come back and join us later on this week for the Hot Mic. And until then, peace.